Hello everybody and welcome back to Gardens and Crystals with me, Wesley Peterson, and today I have a video all about planting out a wonderful plant for sun, semi-shade, shady conditions, dry conditions, moist conditions, sandy soils, normal soils and rich soils, and well, a plant you can put somewhere where it's more difficult to have other plants, but at the same time a plant that's evergreen, has lovely lush leaves and gets beautiful pink spring flowers on it. I'm talking about this plant here. So here it is. I'm going to be planting out a lot of Bergenia, cordifolia, Eroica. And I have wanted to get this specific plant for this specific job for quite some time now, and finally I have, and I just can't wait to get them planted out. Now these plants, they grow in clumps, so you can, when they get bigger, or even now if I wanted to, go in and split them into different plants and place them out. But I'm going to leave them in the mounds that they are in their pots and put them out like that, because I have around about 20 plants to plant out, so I should have enough to cover the whole area. And then with time, as they get bigger, if they end up thinning out in the middle or anything like that, then you can go in and take up a clump and you can split it and divide it and make even more plants. It's that simple. This is a very easy plant to keep happy, and they will change color from this lovely green color during the summertime, and then they'll turn into dark burgundy red colors in the autumn and winter time. So they change their character all the time, which makes them so fascinating to have in the garden. Not to mention that they have these lovely big round leaves, and they can be quite plump when they're full of moisture. These are quite dry at the moment, so when I get them in the ground, they'll have a good watering and then they'll plump up, and they're going to do really, really well. So there's a lot of new growth coming in on these plants, and some of them have a few buds, and they should get a lot more before this late April spring season is over. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. They're such hardy plants. They can take minus temperatures, and that's why they're going to be perfect in my garden, and they'll still stay evergreen. Sometimes they get mottly leaves like this during the winter time, but you can go in and prune off any leaves that don't look very good in the spring like now, and then refresh your plants that way, because they don't do very well at discarding their own decaying or rotting leaves. They just lie around the bottom of the plant. So one thing you need to remember is if you have them and you have a lot of slugs and snails, they will hide under these leaves that are lying on the ground. It's a perfect spot for them, right next to their munchy food. So just remember that, to go in and clean the debris, or at least take it off and mulch it down so you can have it lying around the plants that way. So I'm just going to get in now and sort out the border underneath the side here, and I want to just show you a close-up of what I'm talking about. It's just a derelict area at the moment. We've had our cottage for over 6 years now, and there's been nothing under this side all those years. And I've known that I've wanted to have these Bergenia there all that time, but I just hadn't got round to doing this job, and now I am. So you'll see there are just a load of weeds under there, but it's a perfect spot for this plant. It gets shade, it gets some sun, it stays moist, it dries out in periods, and this plant will cope with all of that very, very well. And I just want something that's going to stay evergreen all year around, so that I have something to look at when I look in under this side. So let's go and have a closer look so you know what I'm talking about. So here are all my Bergenia plants that I'm going to be putting under my terrace. Wonderful examples, and they are just going to bush out like crazy under here, I'm sure. So let's go in for a closer look so you can see the area that I'm going to be working on now. And as you can see, there is just some grass under here and some dandelions, and yeah, a few other kind of weeds. Nothing much going on at the back here. So what I need to do is just get rid of all of this grass and the weeds on the top area and plant in my Bergenia, and I think they're going to do absolutely fabulously filling out this area for me. And as you can see, it's mostly shaded, but the sun goes around from the east round the front here, spreads a little bit further in under the terrace, and as it pushes on round south towards the west, the sun gets in quite deep under this side in the late afternoon. So most of the morning and early afternoon it's in the shade, and then the sun does penetrate in for a little while later on. So I think this is going to be absolutely perfect for these plants here. When it's been raining, it can stay moist for a longer period. It's not soaked at any time, just moist, which is perfect for the plants. But it also dries out. As you can see over in this corner, it's drier. During the summer, it will be a lot more drier. But it's no problem to get in under here and give this a spray over with the hose. So let me get on with tidying this up now. And just so you can get an understanding of the proximity to our cottage under the terrace here. There you go, our cottage. And underneath the terrace, where these beautiful Bergenia are going to fill out with their lovely evergreen leaves and their lovely pink spring flowers. So now you've seen what I'm going to be working with. I'm just going to get on with this. I'm just going to use a rake and rake up as much of the grass and the weeds as possible. And then I'm going to use a hoe to hoe over the surface area. And then I'm going to go in and plant these plants because I don't want to disturb the soil too much. I don't want to be digging deep into the soil all over the place where I don't need to, disturbing all the microbiodiversity in the soil, because I have a lot of fantastic worms here and centipedes and millipedes and beetles and all sorts of other things and microscopic animals that are working in the soil here, and I don't want to disturb all that. I'm just going to be making holes where I'm going to be planting my plants when I finish cleaning off the top area, because these will mound out and fill out the area anyway, and the other weeds won't be able to grow through them with time, and any that do I'll just go and pluck out when they come up. So let's get on with this. So the first groundbreaking moments of all the hard work I'm going to have to get through to make this look absolutely fabulous under here. So I've just got some of the initial top layer of grass and weeds out of the way by just scraping them out with a rake. Now I actually need to go in and get some of the roots up with my little trowel, because there are a lot of dandelions and other roots that are lower down, so I want to get some of those up as much as possible to give these Bergenia a good fighting chance. So I'm going to climb in under now and start at the back. Already as I'm working here, I'm just thinking, oh, how is this going to turn out? It's going to be absolutely fabulous, but at the same time it's quite hard crawling around on my hands and knees here under this terrace. And remember to always place any worms that come back into the soil. So there he goes, back in the soil. So now I just want to take you in under so you can get a closer look of how the soil's looking. And it's absolutely fine for the Bergenia now. It's cleared out of all the worst weeds, and the soil is quite loose under here, so it's going to be very easy for me to dig these plants into all the holes that I want to put them in, and it shouldn't take me long at all. So let's have a look just before everything's done. So here we go. It's a nice clear patch of ground, and you can already see now how far in underneath the side of this terrace the sun reaches, and you can see the darker patch at the back. That's where the shadow is, and that is where it's more moist in the soil, and at the edge it's a little drier. So we can carry on looking over on this side. You can see on the edge here is the driest area closest to the cottage, and at the back there where the old stone steps are, that's the moistest area, and then it dries out towards the edge as the sun can penetrate more there. But this, you can see, is now a perfect area to place in my Bergenia. So let's get all of these in this border. Before I go and plant in all of my Bergenia, I just want to show you that if you have any plants that are in the ground already or you've just bought and they have browning leaves and so forth on, well, you can just go in and prune those off, no problem. So I can see some down here. Before I go and put this plant in, I'll just clip those off, if I can reach them with one hand, and just take those out and tidy up this plant. Now this one's not looking too bad. It's just got a couple of leaves that don't look so nice. Look at this. Doesn't it look so nice with those lush leaves? Oh, I just love it like that. Yes, and there are lots of new ones coming out, so there's no problem with this one. I'm going to show you one that's a little bit more of a mess. So for example, I have this one, look at that. A little bit messy, but don't worry about that. As I said, this is a perennial plant. You go in, you prune off any leaves that aren't that nice to look at, take those away, and new ones will come up and take their place. It's as simple as that. There we go. Even just doing this, this plant looks so much better already. So, oops. So, and it just takes a couple of seconds and you have a whole new looking plant. And I would suggest if you just have a few little browning patches like this, if it's not doing much, if it's not disease that's going to damage the rest of the plant, then leave it there so the plant can use the rest of that leaf to photosynthesize. Otherwise, you can go in and prune the whole thing off if you don't feel like it's doing anything for your plant. So there's one there. Take that out. One here. So that one's looking much better as well already. So I'm going to carry on doing this now with the rest of my plants as I put them in the border. So when it comes to spacing them out, I'm going to place them out on top of the surface of the soil first, just to see how much I can spread all of these plants out. Then I will plant them in the ground. So let's get these in my side here. I'm just taking them out one at a time first, just to give them a little tidy up so that I can put all the leaf work in the crate and then take it round to my compost. Some of them are just absolutely perfect, so I don't need to do much. I'll just put these ones straight into place. And some are a little bit worse for wear, but it doesn't matter. They will be good again. Sometimes you just have to be good at understanding that perennial plants come back again. So if you get your plants from somewhere and they're not in the best condition and you get them reduced or something like that because of the way they're looking, then just look forward to the next season. So this year, these plants are going to grow out as they do. They're probably going to look wonderful, but they won't be at their best. But I know next year, this time next year, when they've gone through a whole season and they've established their roots, then they will be bounds of beautiful leaves and especially flowers next year. Because I'm not expecting to get lots of flowers on these plants this year now, but next spring, they should look gorgeous under here. I think the most important part about gardening is that it is a lesson in the discipline of patience. Because when you do things like this, you have to wait a season to get the real results that you want. Unless you're buying a perfect plant and planting it out, it will look nice, but it still needs to establish and it will be better the next year, but you'll still get a good effect. But if you're buying plants that are already a little bit worse for wear, then it will take patience, because they're not going to look good for a whole year. And they're going to have to get through the next winter and then come back and do their best. And that is what I know will happen with these plants for me. So it's already starting to look good, seeing how they're placed out. And I really think I have the perfect amount of plants for this. I do love this crunchy sound of these leaves as I prune them back. It's like a fresh green summer lettuce.
but they just have this amazing sound. I just love that.
And now I'm down to tidying up my last Bergenia, and this has just been a pleasure to sort out, and seeing them behind me before they're even planted is making me feel so happy, because I know this is just going to look gorgeous in absolutely no time. Oh, and these plants are very thankful to be tidied up and ready to start again. Quite worse for wear, but it will be fine. So let's get this one into place and then have a look how they all look together. So have a look at these amazing plants in here before I've even planted them in. I just think they're going to be so fabulous here, and you can see now the sun is even further back in under, so they are going to get the perfect amount of shade and then this evening sunshine, which is exactly what they will need to keep them happy and healthy. Just amazing. Now the moment of truth. I'm going to get these all into the ground, and then I'm going to get my hose and give them a good thorough watering through.
I feel like I'm going to need a good thorough shower after I've been crawling around under here as well. I hope I don't get any spiders in my hair. Ugh.
Yeah. Yes, this is a bit of a difficult job if you were wondering how I'm crawling around underneath here and in between all these plants that I've just placed out. Well, there isn't that much space for me.
But I want to make this work. So, as one always says, where there's a will, there's a way. And I'll always find a way to fix something new. A new project in my garden. Lovely.
Now for the final one to be planted. This has been a long process, but it's a fantastic outcome, that's for sure. The perfect amount of plants, the perfect amount of spacing, and now I can see with the evening light that it's reached and penetrated right back in under the side of this terrace, so that all of these plants will get at least a little bit of direct sunlight as well. I said before that was the last one. I've just noticed I have 2 left to plant. I couldn't even see it. They all look the same. Quick check. And this is now the final one behind this post. Oh, that's it. I'm done. They're all in the ground and I am so happy that this is done. This has taken quite some time, but I am really happy with the result. Now it finally looks like underneath my terrace here has purpose, and it's become part of the garden as its own separate border. Now I'm going to take you in for one last final look of everything, and then this video is done. So look at all these wonderful plants in place now, and the sun's just gone in, so you can see them very clearly and perfectly spaced out in between them. Plenty of space to grow into the area, and I think they already look absolutely wonderful. I do like the shape of the leaves of these plants, and I do like the different colorations they have on them. Look at this red on the one down here. You can see how they'll all turn that colour later on. Yeah, I think they're going to be very, very happy here. Just another view of these beautiful plants before I finish off here. They look like cabbages set out in a row. I didn't realise actually that I've put them in rows like this. Because I was working from the back and forward, I was putting them each one in between another one, not realising that they were still in straight lines kind of, but it looks okay. I'm absolutely fine with it. They're going to grow in together very well. So And let's just go back here so we can see what my view is going to be in the beginning for now. And we'll go right back this time so you can see Crystal Cottage and where my new Bergenia border is. So there it is, right there under the terrace, under our cottage. And it is wonderful. So that's this day's work done. Well, apart from the watering. So I really hope you enjoyed seeing the process of me planting out my beautiful Bergenia plants here. And I hope it's inspired you to go out and find yourself some Bergenias of your own and place them somewhere where you've had a little bit of a hard time trying to find out what you want to plant. Something that's easy, something that's a survivor, something that has beautiful foliage, beautiful flowers, that's evergreen, that changes colour, that's hardy, and is deer and rabbit resistant, which is very important for me in my garden. I get a lot of deer and rabbits and all sorts of other animals that like to munch on leaves. So these are perfect and safe under here, except for snails and slugs. We'll see how that goes as the season comes along. But with as many plants as I have and the amount they're going to spread out in this area, they should still always be able to look wonderful. So finally I can wander around in my garden and look under here and enjoy the view, instead of wandering around my garden and looking under here and thinking, oh, what a mess, when am I going to fix that? It's now done. And it feels so good. So the final thing, I will just go back in when I finish this video, give these plants a good watering through so that I know that they're stabilized in the soil, and then they are on their own for a while until I come back and water them again. But for the most part, I found out that the soil under here is lovely and perfectly moist, not too wet, and it's only around the back edge that it was very dry. The rest was perfectly moist, and the soil is perfect here as well. It's a mixture of sand and all the organic material that's broken down to make a perfect soil here. It's very fertile. There are a lot of worms in here and all sorts of other insects. There are spiders and all sorts around here, so I hope this is all going to help to keep these plants very, very healthy and happy. So anyway, all I have to say now is thank you very much once again for watching Gardens and Crystals with me, Wesley Peterson. Please remember to like, subscribe and hit the bell so you know when my next video will be coming up, and I will see you again very, very soon. Goodbye.